All right, so a very good day. I be to Dr. Carmichael, our lecturer for Industrial Safety and Emergency Response. So today we are from Group 3, consisting of me, Muhammad Azrul Nazmi, Muhammad Zahid, Bella Rusti, Petra Hani, Maria Yolan, and Karunisa. So today we are going to present Hirarc at college. So right now, I'm going to pass the presentation to Bella to proceed with introduction regarding our presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Azri. Okay, the first part is introduction. Next slide, please. Okay, there are many things at residential colleges that can become potential hazard and cause accidents or injuries, such as material or furniture in the residential college. For example, an electrical outlet, scissor, sharp corner of furniture, chemical products, and accidents such as electrical short circuit, fire, fall, and poisoning. And now I'll pass to the next presenter.
The second is purpose of Hirarc. Next slide. First is legal recruitment. The second is to identify all the factors that may cause harm to employers and outcomes. The third is to consider what the chances are of that harm actually befalling anyone in circumstance of a particular case and the possible severity that could come from it. And the last is to enable employers to plan, introduce, and monitor preventive measures to ensure that the risks are adequately controlled at all times. Next.
Okay, this is process of Hirarc. Next slide, please. Yeah. In the process of Hirarc, there are some steps that we have to know when we will conduct a Hirarc. The first one is classify work activities. Then we can have a consultation with the worker or the employer about what complaints or hazard they feel. After that, identify the hazard. What is the hazard, and is it physical hazard, chemical, or the other hazard? The next step is do the risk assessment. What is the existing control measure, and how high is the risk? After that, prepare the risk control action plan if necessary. Lastly, after we implement the control, we still need to review and are the other hazards posed by the controls that have been implemented.
All right, so next we are going to proceed with the potential hazards that will be available at residential college. So we will start with living rooms.
Okay, the first one is living room hazard. Hazard identification for the work activity playing in living room, and the hazard is electrical outlet, which can cause shocks and burns. For the risk analysis, existing risk control is avoid kids approaching the electrical outlet and likelihood. And the likelihood is 1, the severity 5, so the risk is 5, which is low. And the risk control, recommended control measure is install the electrical outlet cover. Next slide, please. And the second one is work activity, moving table, and the hazard is glass face, which can cause injuries or fatals. And the existing risk control is place the table with glass face at the corner of the room. The likelihood is 3, the severity 3, so the risk is 9. And the recommended control measure is replace the glass face with unbreakable face such as plastic face. And the third is work activity is resting in the living room, and the hazard is air freshener, which can cause toxic ingredients can cause headache, irritating to eyes, skin, and throat. And the existing risk control is keep the room clean to prevent bad smells and open windows and doors when possible. The likelihood is 3, severity 2, so the risk is 6. Recommended control measure is use air freshener with safe ingredients. And the fourth is work activity, watching TV using speaker, and the hazard is loud volume, which can cause noise. Existing risk control, lower the volume. The likelihood is 2, severity 1, and the risk is 2. Recommended control measure is install the soundproof wall. And the last work activity, walking or lying on the carpet, and the hazard is dust, which can cause irritation to the eyes, skin, and respiratory tract. Existing risk control is keep the carpet and living room clean, open windows and door when possible, and make sure the ventilation will function. The likelihood is 2, severity 2, and the risk is 4. Recommended control measure is use a vacuum cleaner to clean the dust on the carpet.
All right, so right now I'm going to present about the study room, which the hazards that are available in the study room. Next slide, please. Thank you. All right, so first of all, this picture shows a person who is studying, which remarks the hazard identification and also the work activity of studying. So the hazard that we impose for this person is the improper sitting posture, which will cause or give an effect of a back pain. So the risk analysis that have been conducted is by looking at the existing risk control, which is fixing the habit of sitting improperly. The likelihood of this to occur is 4, the severity is 1. So the total risk that will be the outcome of the risk will be 4, which remarks as low. So the risk control for this hazard is the recommended control measures is change the existing chair to the chair with lumbar support so that the person wouldn't be sitting like this one. So the person would be sitting comfortably on his chair. So next slide, please. All right, so this picture shows the work activity of plugging in electronical device that impose an hazard of using many plugs at one time. So the cause and effects of this activity is there will be an incident of short circuits will happen that will induce fire and also electric shock when a person touching the extension. So the risk analysis conducted, we could see that there is existing risk control, which we have to use wire extension with many sockets, uh, much more than this. And then the likelihood is 1, severity is 5, and the risk is 5, which impose a medium risk towards the person. So based on the risk control, we could see that the recommended control measures are we're not using the plug, pull it out, and then avoid touching the plug with wet hands to avoid electric shock. So next slide. All right, this picture shows the hazard of work activity, which is completing assignments. So the hazard is overloaded assignments that will cause stress to the students. So based on the risk analysis that have been conducted, so the existing risk control is for the student to take a rest for a while. So the likelihood is 4, severity is 1. So the risk is 4, which remarks as low. And based on the risk control conducted, so the recommended control measures are manage personal timetable, and discuss with the lecturer regarding the due date, whether it has to be extended or uh, uh, it can be negotiable. Next slide. And then this picture shows a picture of a crack chair which will be used by the student to study. So the hazard is the person will be sitting on a crack chair. So the cause or effect is the person will fall down or having a back pain. So based on the risk analysis that we conducted, again, uh, existing risk control is make an inspection on the chairs regularly so that we could see if there is any problem with the chair. So the likelihood is 4, severity is 1, so the risk is 4, which marks as low. So based on the risk control, we could see that recommended control measures are change the chair to a more durable chair, which are uh, made out of plastic or aluminum or something that is more durable than plastic that would easily break. So next one. All right, so the last one is a picture of a student doing an assignment with a butter knife on the side. So the work activity is the student is doing a task. The hazard is sharp objects, specifically a knife. The cause or effect that will cause towards the student is cut and wounds on the hand. So based on the risk analysis conducted, the existing risk control is to avoid putting sharp objects on the table. The likelihood is 3, the severity is 1, so the risk is 3. The risk control, recommended control measures are to keep away the sharp objects from the workplace and make sure it is being kept in a safe place so that no injuries will happen. So that's all from me. I will pass it to Khairun to present about the hazard available on the kitchen.
Okay, now I will explain about kitchen hazards. Every kitchen has many safety hazards. They also have common risks in the kitchen are fire, electrical issues, burns, sleeping, and improper handling. So now I will show the hazard that I found in College 17. Next slide. First, we have biological hazard, which is overloaded rubbish. This rubbish can attract insects and breeding ground for bacteria. The risk for this hazard is 2, which is lower. The existing risk control is we need to empty the garbage when full. The recommended control measure for this hazard is change to trash can lid and tie the plastic garbage before throw. Second, we have physical hazard. Cutting food ingredients can affect our fingers while using it. The risk for this hazard is 9, which is medium. We have 2 recommended control measure. First, keep the knife after use it, and second, sharpen dull knife before use. Third, the dishwashing is a chemical hazard. It can cause chemical burns if they get into your eyes. The existing risk control is avoid touching the eyes when using it. The risk for this hazard is 4, which is lower. The recommended control measure is we need to wearing a dishwashing glove when washing. Next, we also have ergonomic hazard. Improper posture when lifting heavy box can cause back injuries. The risk for this hazard is 2, which is lower. The recommended control measure is use the ladder to reach up the cabinet. Last, we have physical hazard. The hot water can scattering on hands or legs when using the water heater. The risk of the hazard is 16, which is high. The recommended control measure is to ensure the water is pouring right into the cup. So that's all for me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, the next is bedroom hazard. Next slide. Next slide. Hazard identification. Work hazard is work activity is bath, wash clothes, and defecate. The hazard is quiet high stairs, which can cause an effect is sleep while climbing. The risk analysis is exciting control is avoid making stairs in the place that are often exposed to water. Likelihood is 3, severity 1, and risk 3 is low. Risk control is recommended control measure is make sure floor is not mossy and slippery. Next, the next is hazard identification. Work activity is washing the clothes. Hazard is bed washing drain pipe, uh, which can cause an effect is puddles that cause the floor to become slippery. Risk analysis is exciting. Risk control is make sure to always brush the floor every day. Likelihood 1, severity 1, and risk 1 is low. Risk control recommended control measure is replace the pipe with a longer one that fit the drain. Next, the next is hazard identification. Work activities using laundry soap. Hazard bottle containing of laundry soap, which can cause an effect. Yes, the water is in the bed can be contaminated by laundry soap. Risk analysis, exciting risk control is avoid placing the detergent bottle near the bed. Likelihood 2, severity 1, and risk 2 is low. Risk control recommended control measure is put the detergent bottle on the floor or in specific place for laundry soap. Next, the hazard identification work activity is bathing. Hazard is broke floor tile, which can cause an effect is can injure your feet. Risk analysis is exciting risk control. Don't have exciting risk control. Likelihood 2, severity 1, risk 2. It's low. Risk control is recommended. Control measure replace ceramic with new one. Next, the last is hazard identification. Work activities was the clothes. Hazard is electrical outlet, which can cause an effect is may cause electric circuit and fire hazard. Risk analysis, exciting risk control is put the machine uh, outside the bedroom. Likelihood 3, severity 4, and risk uh, 12. It's medium. Risk control, recommended control measure is attached a safety plug to reduce the risk of a short circuit due to splashing water. Okay.
Okay, now I will show you some bedroom hazards. Next slide, please. Yeah. The first work activity is sleeping, and the hazard is mosquito, which can cause itchiness on skin and can lead to diseases like dengue. And the existing risk control is wear long sleeves and don't pile up clothes. And the risk is 12, which is medium level. And the recommended control measure is using mosquito repellent in the bedroom. Slide, please. The second activity is reading. So we often read in our bedroom too. So in some case, poor lighting can be the hazard as ergonomic hazard that can cause a strain in eyesight. Existing risk control is reading during the day and open the window. The risk is 3, which is low level. And the recommended control measures are turn on the lights while reading in the bedroom and use additional lights if the lighting is still lacking. The third is plug in electronic devices. The hazard is using many plugs at one time, which is physical hazard, and it can cause electric shock, fires, and short circuits. So what we see now is an example of an electronic outlet that is damaged after being used for many plugs at one time, which exceeds the capacity of the electronic outlet. So the existing risk control is using wire extension with many sockets. The risk is 5, which is medium level, and the recommended control measure are pull off the plug when not using it, and install miniature circuit breaker at home, of course. And then this is the physical hazard by rotating fan blades by turn on the fan, which can cause pressure on the hands and curling up objects. The existing risk control is using fan blade guard. The risk is 4, which is low level. Recommend control measure are place it in a safe area and away from objects that can reach the fan blades and keep out of reach of children. And last is the physical hazard 2 from sleeping in bunk bed, which can cause falling onto the floor. The existing risk control is nil, and risk is 4, which is low level, and the recommended control measure is use a bed barrier on the side of the bed. So that's all for me. I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, so now I will talk about a conclusion. The next slide. So Hirarc application has proven to be helpful in reducing home accidents. To minimize and control the most critical hazard, a hierarchy of control was applied. And last, as a result, when it comes to safety and health matters, citizens should give their full cooperation. So that's all from our group. Thank you.